Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of council. It is, in fact, the first meeting of the new council for Indigo Shire and the beginning of a 4-year term. This meeting will be live streamed and recorded, and the voices and images of those participating in the meeting may be captured as part of this recording. I'd like to acknowledge the original custodians of the land on which we are meeting from across our shire, pay respects to elders past, present and emerging leaders, and welcome any descendants who may be attending the meeting tonight. As councillors, we have all taken an oath to carry out our duties in the best interest of the people of Indigo Shire and to do this in a fair and impartial manner. We are all committed to exercising the council's powers and functions to the best of our skills and judgment. Do I have any apologies or any leave of absence? No. Any declarations of conflict of interest? Before I go on, I do want to take this opportunity to welcome this council to our role, and I'd like to just quickly introduce the councillors to anyone who might be watching tonight. There are, in fact, no new faces at the table. Anyone that's known Indigo Shire will be familiar both with 5 of us that were on the most recent council and 2 councillors that were on the previous term. So welcome back. So I'd just like to quickly go around and introduce Councillor Sophie Price. I'm just going to go as on my screen. So Councillor Sophie Price, Councillor Bernard Gaffney, Councillor Diane Shepherd, Councillor Larry Goldsworthy, Councillor Roberta Horn, and our Councillor Peter Croucher, who is also our new Deputy Mayor. And I'm Jenny O'Connor, and I'm the Mayor for this coming year. So welcome to all of you. And I know in the time that we have spent together, there is an absolute commitment from this team of councillors to work for all of our communities right across the Shire, irrespective of where we might live. And that we are already, I think, dealing with some issues in a very positive, collegial way. So it makes me feel very positive for the future of this council. And of course, I'd also like to welcome our staff, CEO Trevor Areno, our directors, Greg Pinkerton, Ian Ellett, and Kate Biglin, who's acting in Mark Florence's stead tonight. We also have a governance person who none of you will have seen until this term, Jane Still. So you may see Jane behind the scenes as well. So that's our team. And now I would actually like to move to the condolence motions. There are a number of people that we would like to honour tonight. The first is Bill Meagher, and I'm going to ask Councillor Roberta Horn to say a few words on behalf of council.
Thank you. Yes, I'd like to acknowledge the life of Mr. Bill Meagher, who's been a very important resident of Rutherglen, and his wife, Marie, have been extremely involved in lots of things around their community. Everything from working at the research centre. He's been very involved with the swimming clubs, his church, and he really has been an outstanding citizen and contributor to a life in Rutherglen. And his commitment to making Rutherglen a caring and vibrant community really should be an inspiration to all of us.
So thank you, Councillor. And I think Councillor Gaffney wanted to add a few words.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Bill Meagher was just the advocate for Rutherglen. He lived and breathed Rutherglen. He just loved the town. He was heavily involved in the swimming club. He worked so hard to get a pool cover and heating. And Councillor Price and I, probably 2 or 3 years ago, attended the Australia Day celebration in Rutherglen, and he was the Citizen of the Year. And he was just so excited and he just oozed enthusiasm. He was on the grants committee, the community grants committee, Australia Day Awards. He was just devoted to the community, and he'll be a huge loss. And I certainly miss him a lot.
And Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yes, I just wanted to acknowledge the contribution that Bill has made to the council, particularly when it comes to the Community Grants and Awards Committee. And the meeting last month, there's a motion passed by that committee to acknowledge the contribution that Bill made. So they're certainly hopeful that a letter of condolence will be sent to his family in that regards. So they're all very concerned about his passing, and they understand the contribution that he made to council.
Okay, so we will send a letter to the family. And now I know Councillor Croucher wished to speak about Graham Cameron.
Thank you very much, Jenny. Tango Malinga and the wider community is saddened by the passing of Graham Cameron, better known as Sauce, which was short for sausage. Sauce had lived in the area for over 60 years, volunteering his services in many community groups. He was a charter member of the Kiwa Tangam Lions and later took on zone chairman's role in the Northeast region. For many years, he was the local trainer for the Kiwa Sandy Creek Football Club, and later in his life volunteered his time at Barranduda Primary School, where he assisted in the running of the library. But perhaps the role that Sauce will be most remembered for is his role as Santa, a role that he played at many local events and at many local places over more than 40 years. The local community has been enriched by Sauce's involvement, and he will be greatly missed by his large network of friends and family.
Thank you, Councillor. We will send a letter to his family, a condolence letter. And I also would just mention two other very sad events that have happened since we last met. The passing of Brighton Bird and Councillor Andrew Goldman, both of which have impacted the councils that are our friends and neighbours in this area. So we will send the letters of condolence, and thank you very much, councillors, for your words. So the next item is item 6, confirmation of minutes from the previous meetings, I should say. The recommendation is that council confirm the following as published on the website. The minutes of the ordinary council meeting held on the 15th of September 2020, the minutes of the additional council meeting held on the 20th of October 2020, the minutes of the statutory council meeting held on the 24th of November 2020, and to confirm the minutes of the confidential session held on the 15th of September 2020, which was concerning the Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee appointment recommendations and the 2020 CEO performance appraisal and remuneration review. Do I have someone to move that motion? Thank you, Councillor Shepherd. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Price. All those in favour? Councillor Shepherd.
Sorry, I just wanted to bring up that in the ordinary minutes of the meeting, the draft Ride It, Walk It, Indigo Plan 2020 was put out for 45 days for the community consultation, and it's not in this agenda. So I'm just interested in feedback about if people were expecting to see it in this agenda, why isn't it here?
So perhaps Director Kate Biglan, Acting Director, I should say. Oh, are you Director? Anyway, Kate, over to you.
Director, thank you. The Ride It, Walk It Indigo strategy is out for public comment, and it was due to close on December 23rd with a view to bringing it to the February council meeting. However, given the impact of COVID and just the time of year that we're at, we're going to extend that date through to the 19th of February, which will allow it for people to get their submissions in and have a good look at the document, and we'll look to bring it to the March meeting for the council.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor.
Jenny?
Yes.
Jenny, just could I ask a question? As probably Roberta and myself did not attend any of those earlier meetings, do we vote for those, or do we just abstain at this particular time?
No, it'll be coming to you. You'll be briefed on it. The comments from the community will
No, I'm sorry. I'm talking about the motion, the recommendation to confirm the following when we were voting for the
Oh,
minutes.
the minutes.
Yeah.
No, you still, I think, vote because you're the current councillor, CEO. Have you got
Yeah.
anything to add?
You don't need to be at the meeting to vote on it. So
Okay.
you're accepting them as a record that they be accepted into the books. We could possibly have 7 new councillors and none of them were there.
Of course.
You still need to consider them and adopt them if you feel comfortable that they are a record of what happened.
Thank you.
Thanks for checking that one, councillor. Okay, so any other comments or questions on this motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Okay, so at this point we normally suspend. Oh, sorry, CEO, did you have something to add?
I'm just going to advise, Madam Mayor, that we've not received any questions to open forum, so we can dispense with items 7.1 and 7.2, Madam Mayor.
Excellent. All right, so we'll move to item 8. Business arising from the previous minutes. There were 3 questions on notice from the council meeting. One was in regard to 12 Kirby Flat Road, Yakandanda. One was about the community grants and community event grants assessment criteria, and one was regarding the section 6 of the Beechworth to Yak Rail Trail construction tender. The answers to those have all been provided and are in the agenda. I won't read them out, but for anyone that is interested or who asks those questions, those answers are now in writing in the agenda on our website. Item 9.1 is the petition for the cement footpath in High Street from Camp Street to Eldon Road, Beechworth. The recommendation is that council requires the CEO to provide a response to the petition in accordance with council's protocols for written communication. Do I have someone to move that motion?
Yeah, I'm happy to move it, Jenny. I'd just like to ask a couple of questions.
Sure, councillor, go ahead.
Yeah, just in the explanation, it talks about the work that's already been done and is being done along High Street. And I'm just curious about the section out the front of the jail on High Street. What will be the result there?
Director Ian Ellett.
Thanks, councillor. Look, certainly the intention would be to be able to complete that bit of footpath past the jail. So purely for budgetary reasons, there were some drainage issues down near the school. We've done the highest priority bits first, but we'd hope within the available budget to be able to come back and finish off that section from Camp Street right through to Junction Road.
All right. My second question also relates to the existing path, and I've been approached by a couple of people now about concerns with the build of it, and it appears to be on top of the existing path rather than dug in, so it's made quite a steep edge on the side of the path that faces the gutter. And I'm just concerned that if somebody does go off it, then they're liable to fall because of the angle of the sloping ground. Do you share those concerns? And if so, will anything be done to rectify it?
Oh, look, I don't have any concerns, councillor, with the steepness. There's, I think, some backfilling still to be done. If it was a drop off and a sudden, I guess, edge drop that you could fall off the footpath, then we'd certainly have concerns about that. But it should be battered back to the curb. And the reason it's been built up is there's a number of trees sort of within the Nate strip and also within I suppose the other land, Queen Vic Park, the school, and also the police paddocks. So to protect those trees, the method has been to build the path up, but we should be backfilling so that there's a batter from the edge of the path back to the curb.
Will there be ongoing maintenance there to ensure that that topsoil and gravel is not washed away? And if it is, it's replaced so that there isn't that concern about the edge?
Yeah, look, certainly in the short term, you shouldn't need to. Long term, once that gets established and you get a bit of grass or something on it. But look, our footpath inspections that we carry out always look for those sort of hazards in any case. So, yeah, we would monitor and keep that topped up.
Thank you.
Okay, do I have a seconder for the motion? So Councillor Goldsworthy has moved it. Councillor Price is a seconder. So CEO.
I'd like to speak to it, please, Jenny.
Yeah, sure.
Yep. So the work that the CEO has done in providing explanation here is reasonably thorough. It's a terrific path that's been built. maybe it's not as wide as we would have liked. Maybe there will be concerns over the long run around an edge or two, but by and large, this is something terrific. And the path that needs to be built from Junction Road up to Elgin, hopefully that can be done sooner rather than later to provide for those people that are elderly and have disabilities on that area. But this will certainly help in that regard. And I hope that provides a good explanation to those petitioners.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Price, do you wish to speak to it as a seconder? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Okay. Item 10.1 is the November 2020 finance report, and the recommendation is that Council accepts the November 2020 finance report. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Goldsworthy, do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd.
Jenny,
Goldsworthy.
Mayor, can I also have a couple of questions for this one as well?
That's fine.
So just on page 14 of the agenda, which is 431 pages long, there's a dot point at the beginning just saying there's a $23,000 unfavourable variance relating to rent and lease income with buildings and property service areas. I'm just wondering if there could be an explanation there as to how that's occurred.
CEO.
Thanks, Madam Mayor, through you. Councillor Goldsworthy, thanks for the question. This was part of two phases of support packages that Council decided upon to assist with financial hardship. So back in post bushfire COVID period of the fourth quarter of 1920, we initiated various support packages components, one of those being rent relief to the value of 50% for commercial properties that Council owns and is leasing out. So it includes caravan parks and other commercial premises that we have. There was also 100% waiver of rent for community-based groups. Now that then continued on into the first half of 2021, so the July to December period. So that'll be the part that affects these financials. So a continuation of that rent relief, again, 50% for commercial and 100% for community groups of council-owned properties that we're leasing out.
Have we had any feedback as to how effective that's been? Has it been welcome?
I've had some very grateful letters from people concerned, very, very appreciative of the initiative, and it meant a lot to them. So I've had two at least that I could point to and share with you.
Thank you. My other question's on page 16. It's the capital works table. The capital expenditure for this time last year, year-to-date actuals was 3.2 million in a $9.9 million capital works budget, 32% completion rate. This year, it's an annual budget of 12.5 million. We anticipate there'll be another $1 million worth of federal funding on top of that, potentially other grants that may come in. A year-to-date actual is actually less by 200,000, a bit less, 150,000 than last year, same time last year. It's on a completion rate of 24%. I'm just wondering on the confidence of the Director for Infrastructure as to the completion rate and whether he believes that we'll be able to get through the majority of the projects that have been listed for his department to complete.
Yeah, look, thanks, Councillor. At this time of year, it is always hard to say. Yes, I'm confident that we will be able to get through a good deal of the capital works program. I know if I look at the month-on-month comparison, if we went back 1 month prior, then we're ahead this year. So things do fluctuate, around month by month. Look, the other key point in that is that we will have a look at the mid-year review and reproject where we sort of forecast the budget will be, and that's sort of where we compare ourselves against. And look, there are grants, coming all the time. So we'll have a look at mid-year at the February meeting, and from there, yeah, look, I'll be confident that we'll be able to get the bulk of that done.
Thank you. I'd like to speak to the motion if there's no further questions from anyone.
Certainly, yep. Councillor Shepherd, have you got a question as a second? I'll come to you as a seconder. I'll let Councillor Goldsworthy speak as the mover.
I'm actually happy to let her go. If
Okay,
you've got
oh, that's fine.
questions.
Okay, Councillor Shepherd, if you want to ask some questions now, go
Yeah,
ahead.
sorry. Yes, I just did have a question about employee costs favourable year to date, $334,000. That it's on page 14. It just has that if there's a favourable variance due to vacant positions and staff costs within the Burke and Visitor Services areas not utilised because of the COVID-19 pandemic and work cover savings. I just thought it was a lot of money, $334,000 saved from that area. Is that correct?
CEO?
Thank you, Councillor. Yeah, probably one of those sentences that in hindsight we'd probably like to reword. By using one example, it implies that the whole variance is attributable to that one example. The emphasis should be that there are vacant positions that come up from time to time, and there were staff costs, also savings at the Burke Museum because of the closures as well, and there were also work cover savings. So I guess everything was restricted during the COVID period, and so we've hung on to vacancies as best we could and not replaced them immediately and things like that. So we've had some savings spread right across the board, not necessarily just in the Burke and Visitor Services. So please don't imply from that all of the savings are at the Burke Museum. They're certainly not. Okay,
that's good to clarify. Thank you. So, Councillor Goldsworthy, you should speak to the motion.
So our financials at a glance, you'd say we're doing very well with savings of $850,000 with more than $12 million in the bank. But by and large, a lot of that money is allocated and it will be spent. We're in a good position, particularly in relative terms to what we have in other financial years. We've been able to support the community with some relief for rentals, and we're certainly getting through some capital works. So by and large, this is a favourable position to be in, and I commend this item to the councillors.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Yes, I just wanted to raise the operating grants that we've received, which we're very grateful for, the $250,000 unbudgeted grant to assist business with footpath trading, which I think we've all seen the number of tables and chairs out along the footpaths. That's been, I think, a great addition. And the $234,000 unbudgeted grant for additional staff under the Working for Victoria program. I just wondered whether there's an opportunity just quickly to say when those staff will be starting and what areas they might be.
Sure. CEO?
So yes, we picked up a $500,000 grant for 12 staff for a period of 6 months. And my memory's going to fail me on this one. We've done a number of interviews, and I think we've appointed or near appointed six to 8 out of the 12. They range in different areas of the business. Some of them are in outdoor services, so they'll be looking at things like beautifying places and weeding and that sort of stuff. We've also got web design people in there. We've got, I'm going to forget them now, and I might just pass there for a sec. Maybe Ian might throw me a couple more of examples of who those staff are.
Yeah, thanks. If I can jump in, there's one in human resources to help sort of oversee that program and onboard, the various employees. Trevor mentioned the outdoor operations. There was 5 of those. There'd be one indoor, one in infrastructure. The web designer that Trevor mentioned, a couple of business development officers, someone to assist in IT projects. And I think that'd be nearly, are we up to 12?
Close enough.
I can see Kate Biglin nodding her head. Do you want any others,
Yeah.
Kate?
He did put the application in while I was on leave back in September,
Okay.
so he knew them a bit better than I did, yeah.
I was just going to add the 2 business support officers have commenced already, so people will be meeting them already.
Great.
All right. So just the update on that, 5 have commenced. 2 will be starting in January, and we're still recruiting for some of those roles.
Okay. So it's a very welcome addition to our fairly stretched team at Indigo Shire. Okay, Councillor Shepherd, do you want to make any other comments as a seconder? Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? All right, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Carried. Item 10.2 is the budget 1920 budget carry forward and adjustments. The recommendation is that Council adopts the 2019-20 re-budget and other budget adjustments as detailed in this report and attachment, including the following adjustments: 2.18 million of additional operating income, 2.58 of additional operating expense, 404,840 of additional capital income, and 643,925 of additional capital works expenditure. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Goldsworthy. And do I have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yep, it's an unusual situation to be given this to re-budget something that we've not that long ago budgeted for, but the explanation is given in the report, and it has to meet specific carry forward rules, which are also listed. So on the sound advice from our Chief Financial Officer and our CEO, I believe we should adopt this to ensure that the projects that we've supported in the past continue.
Okay, Councillor Croucher, as seconder, do you wish to say anything? Councillor Croucher?
I can see that. After reading the report, I can see that there are additional items that were not fully confirmed at the time of the budget, and for transparency and accountability, I agree to the re-budget and the budget adjustments as detailed in this report. How about that?
That's lovely. Thank you, Councillor.
Yes.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this item? Councillor Horn. Good.
I wish to speak against this motion in that I feel we're in recovery mode. It seems to me that we're not certain about where all these costings are going to go, and I think it would be prudent to defer it until later in the year.
To defer the budget adjustment?
Yes, the project. Because we've had, quite an outstanding.
Councillor, which project do you mean? This is the entire budget. It's not about one project.
All right. No, I'm concerned about the yeah. All right.
A different item?
A different item, perhaps.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Thanks for clarifying. All right. So this is item 10.2.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is around. We've got money coming in, money that we need. Yeah. All right, good. So anyone else wish to speak to this item?
I'll sum up.
You can sum up.
All right, look, it does relate to grants that we've received, so it's important to include those in the budgets. There's expenditure that's expected and related to that grant. Also, one of the grants is the Wagonia multi-purpose hard courts and lighting for more than $1 million. So I'd hate to see that deferred. It's very important that this project does go ahead. And so for that and many other reasons, we should adopt this recommendation.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour of the budget carry forward and adjustments. And I can't see Roberta. Councillor Horn, I can't see your hand. Yes, it's up. Sorry, you'll need to put in front of the camera. Just a bit of an adjustment there. Carried. Thanks, councillors. 10.3 is the rate cap variation. Oh, CEO.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to reconfirm that our governance rule requires us to record every vote. So I'm just taking it on as given. If you don't say there's anyone against, I'm assuming that's 7 out of 7 as we write these down.
Make that assumption, and
unless you stop us. Thank you.
Yeah, assume that it's unanimous unless I name a councillor. Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so 10.3, rate cap variation. The recommendation is that council does not seek a rate cap variation for the 2021-22 financial year. Do I have someone to move that I have Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? I have Councillor Price. Councillor Goldsworthy.
I think it'd be brave council in these times to do anything other than support this motion. I can see the need that if in the future there was great strategic justification for it, a council may consider it, but these are not the times for that.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Price.
Yeah, I'd add to that just saying that we would not make a decision like this lightly. And as it explains in the report, there's a 10-year strategic resource plan that shows, based on a number of assumptions and the best available data, that a rate cap variation is not required for the 2021-22 financial year. And yeah, just to reiterate, there would be a lengthy process and we would need strong strategic justification if we were to seek a rate cap variation. So I support this recommendation.
Anyone else wish to speak to the item? Councillor Gaffney.
It certainly would have been good if we hadn't had to increase the rates last year by 2%, like a lot of other councillors did because of the harsh conditions. But I think it's good that in 2020, 2021, we're not asking for more than what the rate cap is, and that'll be a debate for another time whether we reduce it or just stick to the rate cap rise.
Mm-hmm. Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Goldsworthy.
If no one else wants to speak, I'll sum up. Look, I'll address firstly Councillor Gaffney's point of the rate increase last year. It was a 2% rate increase. If we were to forego that, they'll be looking at some $360,000 over a 10-year period. It would equate to $4 million with compounding interest. And so you look at what things you need to stop doing. So it is important that council collects the rates. It is important that we keep adjusting it for CPI. And at this stage, we're saying we're not going to go above that. And that's what this is important about.
Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour of not seeking a rate cap for this coming year? And that's unanimous. Thank you. 10.4. This is planning permit application PP 200070 regarding the former Mount Carmel Convent in Rutherglen. I'm going to hand to the CEO, Trevor Reno.
Madam Mayor, with regret, we've had a late change and advised of a late issue that really causes us to recommend that this item be pulled for now and not be considered tonight, and that would be our recommendation to you. And I might throw it to our planning director just to explain a little bit more before you consider that suggestion.
Yeah, thank you. Immediately before this meeting, a concern was raised about the version of the plans that have been used for this report. We've had limited time to investigate that, but just the initial look, we believe that's worthy of further investigation. So rather than have something presented to council that we're not able to hand on heart stand behind at this stage, we'd rather withdraw this report, and we'll bring it back at a later meeting once we've confirmed that concern that was raised tonight.
Okay, so in fact we're being asked to defer this and to not vote on it tonight because of some information that means that in fact the report may not be correct. Therefore, it would be improper for councillors to make a decision on that. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Could I just clarify that? We're being asked to defer it, or is it being withdrawn? In which case we don't have to decide.
Greg.
CEO?
Withdrawn.
Oh, withdrawn.
Yeah. Yep.
All right, but the intention is that it will come to a future council meeting once this information has been verified and corrected. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we'll go through a process and verify the facts, and then we'll plan from there as to where to go next.
Okay, so we're going to withdraw this item based on the advice of our staff, regretfully. But this item will come back to council for decision as soon as we can have that opportunity and the information is corrected. All right, so that takes us to 10.5. This is the planning permit application PP 190145 for 14 Kiwa Bonagilla Road in Tangambalanga. And the recommendation is that council approves this application for the subdivision of land into 15 lots at Kiwa Bonagilla Road, Tangambalanga, subject to conditions contained in attachment 4 to this report, and issues a notice of decision to issue a planning permit. Do I have someone to move this? Yes, Councillor Croucher.
I have unmuted at this stage, and I'll get used to this situation. I'm not quite
saying it.
But anyway.
Seconded, Jenny.
Tangambalanga's been waiting for a while.
Madam Mayor.
I second.
Oh, sorry, you're absolutely right. Thank you, Councillor Gaffney. Would you like to be that seconder?
Thank you.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. Tangambalanga's been waiting a long period of time for the development of industrial land, and I can remember back in my time 12 years ago we were looking for industrial land, and now that we've got it, we're pleased to see that 8 blocks at long last have been finally snapped up. Now that there is more demand for such blocks, I am pleased to move that the application for 15 lots of industrial land in Tangam be approved, subject to the conditions mentioned in the report.
Thank you, Councillor Croucher. Councillor Gaffney.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Most towns in Indigo Shire would certainly welcome more land zoned industrial and ready to be occupied. This is a 3.3 hectare block, which is not overly large, but it's owned by the people of Indigo Shire. And I'm sure it's very, very welcome down at Tangambalanga.
Okay, Councillor Goldsworthy.
As Councillor Croucher mentioned, it was in a previous council that we decided to purchase this land and divide it for industrial land. It was mostly funded by RDV, and the need was seen and fulfilled. There are other towns where we have industrial land and we desperately need more, but I think this will serve Tangambalanga into the future, at least for the next half a dozen years, I'd like to think. But it's a great asset for the town, and it's going from strength to strength with houses going up all through the area. I think this will just help promote it. All they need now is a supermarket.
Okay, Councillor Shepherd.
Yeah, I see the owner of the southernmost block was an objector, and we've got an odd little shape on the plan, which I'm assuming is so that they can access that land at the back, which is they said they've wanted to do since 2010. It doesn't necessarily mean they're going to buy it, but I'm just checking. Is that the assumption with that Battle Axe area?
Director Greg Pinkerton.
Yeah, you'll note that a lot of the other lots, so 23 through to 20, align with lots at the front, and the design idea behind that is that a business may choose to buy multiple blocks and set up a larger business. So there was an awkward corner for lot 19, but we wanted to maintain that design idea of having access to larger blocks. So it wasn't specifically for one particular business, but all of those we tried to get that option for future.
Okay, thank you. Any other councillors wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Croucher, do you want to sum up?
Oh, look, I believe we've waited a long time for the land, and when the land did finally come about 10 or 15, it took a long time for industry to come, but now that it's come and the town is developing so much, I think this is just great for our town.
Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour? And that's unanimous. Thanks, councillors. 10.6 is a section 173 agreement for planning permit 084376109 for McSween's Road, Indigo Valley. And the recommendation is that Council resolves to enter into the attached agreement pursuant to Section 173 of the Planning Environment Act 1987 with AusNet Services Limited and Indigo Investments, and to sign and seal the appropriate documentation. Do I have someone to move this motion? Councillor Shepherd, do I have a seconder? Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Shepherd, over to you.
Oh, I think it makes sense to have a covenant on the title that allows people to see when they buy it that they have a choice of how they have their electricity from AusNet Services, or they're able to do off-grid solar. And I think it's sensible that any buyer who is thinking of buying that property is aware of their choice. So yeah, it makes sense.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy. Nothing to add? Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Gaffney.
What this is about is that power won't be connected to these 6 blocks. And in the report it says, in recent years, AusNet Services has changed the way they consider power provision to isolated rural subdivisions. Solutions may now involve off-grid options such as solar and generator units. I'm just wondering whether the people who might be interested in blocks at 109 McSween's Road, Indigo Valley, would consider that they're in an isolated rural block. And if you've got blocks of land for sale and you've got no power connected to them, you would think it would devalue that subdivision. I'm not sure why they regard it as isolated. It's certainly not.
Okay, so we'll take that as a comment. You don't see it as an isolated block. Is there any, you're not looking for a response to that, councillor?
Well, it just seems strange that we're voting on this to not have baseline power connected to residential blocks. So it just seems strange to me that that they're selling blocks of land with no power, and they're saying that you should rely on solar or generators. I presume they'd be diesel-powered generators.
Just to be clear, councillor, and I need to check this in, but my understanding was that it wasn't the kind of power. There are options for kind of power. It was that the owners of the blocks would have to pay for that connection themselves, and then there are options about what that type of power would be. So is that correct?
Well, it's mentioned in the report, Madam Mayor.
Okay, well, I read it differently to that. Yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
Well, I can read it back to you.
That's my assumption as well, that you have a choice. You can pay to a pole, or you can pay for your own off-grid power.
Can I just check in with, given that we've got a different understanding of what that might mean, Director Pinkerton, have you got any light to shed on this issue? Light to shed, that's funny, because power, sorry. Go on.
So the appropriate organisation to determine what power is available and how it would be supplied or not supplied and at what cost is AusNet. So to be clear, Council isn't making a decision on what power would be supplied to the block. This is a case where AusNet, as the organisation that would need to work with the owner on the supply of power, AusNet feels that this particular piece of land is worthy of flagging in a way that is quite overt to any potential purchaser. So what sort of power would be determined in the future? This report is really just asking for a covenant that goes with the title to make people aware that there needs to be a conversation with AusNet rather than an assumption about power.
Thanks. Okay, so anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to sum up? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Against? All right, so in favour are Councillor Goldsworthy, Horn, Croucher, Price, Shepherd and O'Connor, and against is Councillor Gaffney. So have you got that, Jane? Great, all right. All right, item 10.7, this is planning permit application 190008, 99 Newell Lane, Stanley. The recommendation is that council approves this application for the use and development of land at 99 Newell Lane for an extension to the existing dwelling and the use and development of the land for group accommodation, subject to the conditions that are included in attachment 2, and issues a notice of decision to approve a permit. Do I have someone to move this?
I do have a couple of questions.
Okay, you can ask the questions and I'll put the motion.
Okay. I'm just wondering, given that the application is, or the applicant has spoken about needing the additional dwelling for workers, have we got any period of time that we suspect that they may have workers on the property and need accommodation? Will it be 2 weeks, 4 weeks, half a year?
Director Pinkerton.
Yeah, thank you. The planning team has seen a business plan from the owners on how they plan to use that property for the agricultural use. I don't have that information in front of me tonight to be able to tell you a period of time.
Okay.
Are there any concerns from the planning department about this may be a surreptitious way to get a second dwelling on a parcel of land that potentially otherwise wouldn't normally have it?
Director Pinkerton.
Yes, through the Mayor. Look, there is always the possibility that people can go outside of their planning permit, and that's what enforcement is for. The planning team has looked into that question, and as I said, there's been a business plan provided to show how they expect to use that property. As I suppose a safeguard, for want of a better word, you'll note that the application and also the permit conditions talk about short-term accommodation rather than a residence. So group accommodation, I think, is the exact term. And so if the property owner then chose to try and use that for ongoing residence, then that would be in breach of the planning permit conditions.
All right, thank you. That's all the questions I have.
Thanks, Councillor. So back to the motion. Do I have someone to move the motion to recommend the development at 99 Newell Lane, Stanley? I have Councillor Shepherd. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney. Councillor Shepherd, do you wish to speak to the motion?
Look, I'm satisfied with reading the conditions and reading the report that this application is for a group accommodation, which will be used seasonally by workers who will be doing intensive horticulture on that property. Half of the property is bushland, so I don't think we're in any way going to be causing any issue with the agricultural block. It's not extending beyond the footprint already. So I think it's good to have seasonal worker accommodation and then tourism accommodation when that's not being used in that area. And I think it's great to see intensive agriculture happening up there and being supported by us. So I think there's saffron, there's some sort of nuts. There's about 5 or so different intensive agricultural things that are going to be happening there. So I'm happy to support that in Stanley. And there was an objection, but I don't see the objection as being it's the pine plantation wanting to really make them aware of there's a pine plantation already there, but I think the owners already know there's a pine plantation there, so I can't see the use of that objection, of taking any account of that objection. So, yeah, I'm happy to support this.
Okay, Councillor Gaffney.
The block of land is over 100 acres. We all know that Stanley is very rich, fertile agriculture and horticulture country, a lot of cherries, which I'm sure some of us in Beechworth have bought recently. They've got saffron there. I'm sure they'll have berries and things like that. And they've submitted a plan which has been accepted by the planning department. So I won't be overruling that.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yep. Look, in the question, you may have picked up that I do have a few concerns, but nothing that would support me voting against this motion. Certainly the applicant is well known in the local area. They're looking to produce, and they already do, for saffron, chestnuts, walnuts, hazelnuts, cider apples, berries and other vegetables. So provided they stick to the plan, and when it's on those high fire dangers, they haven't got tourists staying at their accommodation, I think this should all go well, hopefully.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Do you wish to sum up, Councillor Shepherd?
Oh, just to say that one of the conditions is that if there are tourists or seasonal workers there during a high fire day, they need to leave by 10 a.m. So I think the conditions cover the fire risk as well. So yeah, I just
okay. Okay, so I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 hands. Unanimous. Thank you, councillors. And item 10.8 is planning permit application 190248 at 41 Ford Street, Beechworth. The recommendation is that council refuse the application for the development of a single-storey dwelling and the removal of 3 trees at 41 Ford Street, Beechworth, for the following reasons. The first one, proposed development is contrary to the purpose of clause 34.01 commercial 1 zone with regards to densities that are complementary to the existing role and scale of the commercial use on site. Number 2, the proposed development is an overdevelopment of the site with regards to permeability and site coverage. Number 3, the proposed development will cause negative amenity impacts for the future residents of the dwelling with regards to provision of and access to private and secluded open space and solar access to private open space. And 4, the proposed development does not meet the objective or standards of clause 52.06 in regard to design standard 2 car parking spaces. Do I have someone to move this? Councillor Price, and seconded by Councillor Goldsworthy. Councillor Price.
I don't think it gets much more straightforward than this. The report is fairly self-explanatory. Councillors have been for a site visit to understand the layout of the site, and in the conclusion it says overall the development reflects little sophistication in terms of the design and position. It goes on from there, so it's a very straightforward, well thought out recommendation for refusal.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yeah, it appears to be an inappropriate development for that area, and I couldn't support it in its current form.
Anyone else wish to speak to this item? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour of the refusal of this planning permit? And I've got 7 hands, unanimous. Thanks, councillors. 10.9 is the planning permit application 200006 for 148 High Street, Beechworth. The recommendation is that the attached draft development plan be endorsed as an approved development plan for the purposes of the Indigo planning scheme, subject to the following amendments and notes being included on the plan. The amendments include the drainage line separating lots 1 and 2, and stormwater treatment infrastructure must be placed underground. Sorry, yes, sorry.
Just before you get any further, I'd like to move an alternate motion.
Oh, sure, go ahead.
I'd like to move that the endorsement of the development plan be refused on the following grounds. 1, the configuration of lots are inconsistent and at odds with the surrounding neighbourhood character. 2, the lot yield is an overdevelopment of the site. 3, the configuration of the proposed subdivision, particularly lots 1 and 2, result in a poor planning outcome. 4, access to a number of the lots is inappropriate due to the proximity to the intersection and the number of access ways which transact the rail trail. 5, the plan proposes an inappropriate design response in the context of the open drain road embankments and the vegetation located on or adjacent to the site.
Okay, thank you. Do I have a seconder for this alternate motion? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Price, do you wish to speak to the motion?
I do. Again, all councillors have been to view this site, and in discussion around what was proposed on this site, there were a number of questions, a lot of things that didn't appear to be orderly planning to the councillors. And so I think that the 5 reasons are pretty straightforward in themselves. And I think that it really is our duty as councillors to not just accept every development plan that comes through, but to really establish that we want good, orderly planning for our towns.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, there were community objections to this plan, and I think they were right. Number one was they didn't want crossings going over the bike path, and it was really obvious when we were there that there were people using that bike path, and having a number of crossings over it when it's already there, it's already established as a bike path, is not really what we would like. And also they were concerned about the level of the property itself is way down off the path, and they're saying that people would have to really, if they're backing out of that area, they would have to do a high speed sort of back out up a slant, and they might miss seeing people behind them. So that's the community's concern around that. And of course, as Councillor Price said, there are lots of other concerns around good planning that I think have been named in this refusal on the grounds. So yes, I support the refusal.
Any other councillors wish to speak to this new motion of refusal? Can't see anyone else. Councillor Price, do you wish to add any? Oh, sorry, yes.
Do we speak against that motion? Or?
Yeah, you can speak either for or against. When I say
Okay.
speak to the motion, either way you want to go.
Well, I was lucky enough to also to go down and have a look at the site, and I was under the impression that a lot of those problems could have been fixed up. The only one that I had problems with was lot 1 and lot 2, getting those 2 to be consolidated. But so I don't know, I'm sort of vague as to whether to go against the motion or not, because the rest of it I didn't have problems with, to be honest. But anyway, I'll make that decision.
So, Councillor Croucher, are you interested in moving an alternate motion that actually
I don't want.
Consolidates lot 1 and 2?
That was my aim. I think all the other problems could have been overcome quite well. I wasn't concerned so much with the others, but I was definitely concerned with lots 1 and 2. But so I don't know whether to make.
So, Councillor, you do have the option of putting that as another alternate motion and seeing if you get a seconder for that.
Well,
just hang on a sec. CEO Areno, yes, Trevor.
I'll just say the choice is probably that the councillor flags an alternate motion and perhaps shares what that is.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Gives everyone a chance to consider the original or the alternate, and then they can choose to go with that and go with Peter's next.
Oh, I sort of felt like he just did do that. Yeah. He flagged exactly what he wanted to say.
Depending on what it is, the original mover may well choose, if it's similar enough, the original mover may well be happy to include those changes.
Well, I sort of read it as one's an outright refusal, the other's actually not a refusal. It's
okay, that's very alternate.
Yeah. So do you want to put that as Councillor Gaffney, you got a question?
Yeah, sorry.
Well, I was going to speak to the motion, which was put by Councillor Price.
But hang on, wait. We may actually have another motion. I'll just have to clear.
I thought he was going to signal one. The CEO said that he would foreshadow another motion if this didn't get up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you're foreshadowing another motion. I'm just going to check in with our governance advisor. Yes, Jane.
Just to clarify that while Councillor Croucher has rightly foreshadowed a motion, you need to deal with the original motion first.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, got that. Okay, got it. So going back to the new motion that's been put forward for refusal by Councillor Price, seconded by Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Croucher has foreshadowed he may put up an alternate motion if This motion is not successful. Anyone else wish to speak to Councillor Gaffney? You wish to speak? God, I'm now confused. Yeah, Councillor.
I agree with Councillor Croucher that lots 1 and 2 are an issue with an open drain running through it now, which would probably be sealed, but with an easement between 1 and 2, and I'm not sure whether the easement would be on lot 1 or lot 2, but lot 1 seems very, very, very small. In fact, the whole subdivision just seems really cramped. And I think if they put in an amendment, that might make a difference. But the way that it's up now, I certainly couldn't vote for it. And I agree with the comments of Councillor Price.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion to refuse? For or against? All right, well, I'll put that motion.
All right, I'll sum up then, please, Madam Mayor.
Please do, yes.
If we were just dealing with one issue with regards to the development plan, perhaps we would have accommodated it in some other way. I think there are more than just the one issue. I think that it is an overdevelopment of the site and it is totally inconsistent with what is in the surrounding neighbourhood. And I think that our role here as councillors is to approach these development plans by looking at what is the optimal result and the best orderly planning that we can see happen to that site. And just because we receive a development plan that we could see that could be tweaked doesn't mean that we should accept that. We should refuse it and they can come back with an alternative plan if they so choose. There are just too many concerns that I had with this site to be accommodated in any other way, and that's why I think we should refuse this today.
Anyone else wish to speak? I'm going to put this to the vote. Sorry. All those in favour of the refusal. So we've got 6 votes against. Councillor Croucher against. So Jane, have you got the names of the councillors in favour? Councillor Gaffney, Goldsworthy, Horn, Price, Shepherd, O'Connor, and against is Councillor Croucher. Thank you. All right, so now we're up to item 12.1, which is the November Capital Works report. The recommendation is that Council notes the Capital Works report and the year-to-date achievements in the delivery of the Capital Works program, and notes the financial situation and the associated options in relation to the Beechworth to Yackandandah Rail Trail project as outlined in this report. Do I have someone to move this motion? Councillor Goldsworthy. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Goldsworthy.
We've spoken a little bit about the Capital Works already, but unless you actually go into the appendix and have a look at the 6 pages of listing in there for the Capital Works, you don't really get an understanding of what's going on with the council and the Capital Works program. It's more than $12 million worth. There's probably more than 100 projects on the books at the moment. There's things like the Chiltern Community Hub. The design there is, the concept design has been roughly finalised. They're looking to move on with that. The NECMA land at Tangambalenga has been purchased. We've got more library books in our library, $65,000 worth. We've got water bubblers, again, more being put throughout the Shire, which is a fantastic program that we've undertaken over the last 3 or 4 years. The epic mountain bike tracks progressing, albeit a little bit slowly, and we're dealing with the vegetation offsets there. Now we've got footpaths that have been completed in Tangambalenga, Barnawatha, Waganya and Beechworth. Once again, the community was saying fairly loudly that they're looking for that sort of infrastructure, and the council staff have been delivering it along with contractors. But the largest Capital Works project, I'd imagine, in the history of the Indigo Shire in total, which is the bike path between Beechworth and Osborne's Flat, $6.5 million. There's no other project that I could think of comes near it, and what it will mean to the community. We're delivering on that. And we've also got the Beechworth tennis courts that are progressing. And so there's another 100 capital works projects in there that are being done. They're being worked on by the staff. It's a fantastic effort and something that the community should be proud of, and we should be proud of as councillors for what the staff are achieving. So thank you to the CEO, the Director for Infrastructure and all their staff.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, I think one of our crowning sort of glories in this is the rail trail and how successfully we've been able to keep that up to date. The concern, of course, has been with our offsets for vegetation, which changed during the costing from the state government changed in the middle of this project, which has now made vegetation removal go up to $550,000. So we're looking at perhaps a shortfall of $700,000. And so I'm just interested, I know that there's those options that we've got on this report, and I'm just interested from perhaps Manager Ian Allett, if he could just speak to us about those options and let the community know what we're looking at with those three.
Director Allett.
Thanks, Councillor. Thanks, Mayor. Yeah, look, what we've outlined in the report is, I suppose, some options to look forward in being able to address the, what's becoming apparent as a funding shortfall in being able to deliver this project. So we've set out there three options are outlined in the report, and not for a decision today, but just really to acknowledge what they are as we go forward. The first of those is to seek additional funding through the state government or through a grant, and so we're active in that space in looking at possible funds to help make up that shortfall. The second option we've outlined is to, I guess, keep spending, keep delivering the project to the standard that we'd like to, but that would exceed the budget. And I suppose that's not as simple as just spending money we don't have, but looking to offset in future years maybe things that were proposed to be funded in a subsequent year. We might be able to get those funded by grants or other opportunities and free up some funds out of a future year's budget. And bearing in mind that the rail trail project isn't to be complete in the current year, it still does span more financial years. And then the third option we've outlined there is if there was no more funds available and we had to deliver this project fully within the available funds, so it's a $5.2 million project. And the option there is when we get to the final stage, what we've called Section 7, and it runs along Kibble Lane out of Beechworth from Elmer Road. I think it's about 5 k's down there. We would have to change the design on that, and rather than have an off-road path, we would really reduce that to just an on-road gravel track with some signage. That is not in accordance with the funding agreement we've signed with the state, so that would require us to negotiate a variation to that funding agreement. So it would be not a desirable outcome, but one that I suppose is available to us should we need to complete this project as best we can within the available budget that's been set aside.
Okay, thanks for the explanation. Yes, Councillor Gaffney.
It's true that the Beechworth to Yackandandah rail trail is the biggest project undertaken by Indigo Shire Council. My concern is that it's becoming a money pit. It's a state government project. The Premier came up and spoke to it, the ministers came up and spoke to it, and everybody was happy and applause. But since then, and we signed up to put in $1 million, it seems that money has been spent. And in the body of the report, it says this project is under increasing financial pressure. This is largely due to costs associated with native vegetation removal, $550,000. However, some recent significant design and construction complications has increased the additional cost in excess of the budget to the overall project, which is now estimated to exceed $700,000. At the very last meeting of council, we allocated an extra 300,000 to this project. It's now estimated to exceed 700,000, and we don't know whether that will go over or not, but that will be over an extra $1 million put in by Indigo Shire Council and the people of Indigo Shire Council. And the 300 was part of a federal government stimulus package. The three options have been mentioned. The first one would be really good if we could get a grant from the state government, albeit that it's for bushfire recovery regional stimulus. To spend in excess of the allocated budget doesn't sit well with me, and to complete the budget with the complete the project with the available budget would be good, but I think there is some doubt about that, as has just been explained by the Director of Infrastructure. I have real concerns about this project. It's a great project, but it's a massive overspend and it's just becoming a money pit.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak? I'll just point out that this motion is actually about noting the report and noting the financial situation. So that's what we're actually, this is what this actual item is about. Councillor Horn. You still are on mute. There you go.
Two buttons to push. Yes, look, I'm very concerned about this project, and I do think we have to be extremely cautious given the dreadful year that we've had and the uncertainty of the year coming ahead. We just don't know what's going to happen. So yes, I am extremely cautious, and think that we intend to look at it very, very strongly and deeply.
Okay. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? I'm going to, oh yeah, Councillor Price.
What a great list of projects there are within that report, and I'd like to pay particular attention to two more projects that Councillor Goldsworthy and Councillor Shepherd haven't mentioned. The Living Heritage grants that we were successful with for the Chiltern Athenaeum is really fantastic for that group who are, you know, they're a committee that work every day to ensure the conservation of that collection. And so it's great that when we can be successful in a grant to support them in doing that. And also to note the cricket nets at Barclay Park in Rutherglen. That's a great story in terms of a really great group coming to us with a solid set of plans and some ideas around where the funding could be sought from. And here it is, it's been funded. I don't think the whole report should be hijacked by a discussion about the rail trail. I think this is an issue that we've been aware of for quite some time. The staff have been very upfront with us about it, and I expect the conversation will continue about it. We all have concerns about any overspend in that area. So it's not a concern that's just expressed by a few councillors, that's all of us, and that's the staff as well. But in terms of the Capital Works report, I say thank you to the staff and well done.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I'm going to hand back to Councillor Goldsworthy to sum up.
Yep. So as quite capably noted by Councillor Price, this is about the observations or the notation of the Capital Works program and the financial situation in relation to the Yakandanda Trail project. We're not making a decision one way or the other around those three options. They're more for a heads up and something to be discussed at a future date. Obviously, the state government and federal government have seen fit to bless us with a number of grants, and that's in order to continue delivering capital works and actually to increase the pace of it. So any talk of stopping that would be contrary to what the monetary policy or the fiscal policy that the governments are trying to encourage. They want us to spend money, they want services delivered, they want people back in jobs. So for mine, this is a report worth noting, and the projects are very worthy and worth keep doing.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. I'm going to put The motion that we note the capital works report and that we note the financial situation and the associated options with the rail trail project, which of course we will be discussing in more detail into the future. Do I have, sorry, I'll put the vote. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 6 against. Right. So we've got Councillors Gaffney, Goldsworthy, Shepherd, Price and Croucher and O'Connor in favour and Councillor Horn against. So it's passed. Item 12.2 is the Beechworth to Yakandanda Rail Trail Section 5 construction tender. So the recommendation is that Council awards this contract to Excel Grey Brunei for the Section 5 Beechworth to Yak Rail Trail for the lump sum price of $597,357.50. Authorises the CEO to sign the contract documents and affix the Council's common seal, and authorises the CEO financial delegation to approve contract variations up to a total of 10% of the signed contract value. Do I have someone to move that motion? Councillor Goldsworthy is moving. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Croucher. And I'm going to hand to Councillor Goldsworthy.
So this project, or this section of the project, as I've stated, it's one of the biggest we've undertaken. It's been very capably managed by Penny Everingham. There's been a consultative committee from the community to oversee how things are going. This is just one more tranche in it. Excel Grey Brunei have delivered on a number of other areas. They're currently contracted to deliver that area between Kibble Lane, further down, and to the roundabout at Yakandanda. So we've got 2 sections on the go at the moment. The only concern is whether they'll be able to do this in a timely manner. We're assured by the staff that they can deliver Section 5. This basically links Wurrigi to Yakandanda, which is fantastic. Yeah, they're doing a great job already, and if you do drive along that Wodonga Beechworth Road, you'll see some of their workmanship, and yeah, I'm sure they'll continue. It was interesting to note some of the variances in the contractors. We had some other very close people that tendered for it, and there were some that were way above. So they've once again proved themselves very, very price competitive.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Croucher.
Look, at 3, oops. I'm on?
Not on you. Not on you.
Look, with three sections already completed and 2 under construction, it seems sensible to me to award the contract for Section 5, Beechworth to Yak Rail Trail, and to authorise the CEO to sign the contracts and approve contract variations up to 10% of the supported value. And maybe we could add Section 8 from Yakandanda to Tangambalanga. No, don't add that in.
That will happen. That's the hope.
That will happen. Thanks,
That's the next stage. If we finish this stage, we can get the next one.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? For or against? Yeah, Councillor Shepherd.
I've probably got a conflict of interest here because this is the bit where I'm looking forward to. I'll be able to ride down to Yakandanda and someone will have to come and pick me up because I'm not riding back up that hill. But I note that there's a number of difficult bits. Like I can see why it's going to be a challenge, this section. Just driving down there, you see that it's narrow between the some of the properties and the road. There's a steep gradient connecting the new elevated structure that's going to be just near the 80-kilometre zone, which is already included in the bridge contract. And there's what else is there? There's the 20-metre corridor through Commissioners Creek Reserve, which is managed by Parks Victoria. So again, congratulations to the staff who are working with a number of different groups, really, like Parks Victoria and DELP and and community around getting this going down through the rail trail or beside the road. So congratulations, and I really look forward to this bit happening, really.
Anyone else wish to speak to this motion?
Just a question, Madam Mayor.
Sure.
Do we have a completion date for this project?
Director Ellett.
Yeah, my understanding is it's due for completion at the end of next calendar year. I don't think it's next financial. I think it's the end of 2021. I stand to be corrected if it's 6 months after that, but certainly within next financial year.
Okay. So a year to go. Any follow-up questions there, Councillor?
Could I?
Councillor Croucher, I'll come back.
Can I just ask a question?
Oh, certainly. Yeah, of course you can ask a question.
Yeah, just to Ian as well. I just noticed that the Kirby Flat part was always a good track. Is that joined up with the rail trail, or will that be joined onto the rail trail after it gets to Yakandanda?
Kirby Flat, so Rowdy Flat track. Where's Kirby?
Rowdy Flat. Sorry, Rowdy Flat. Yeah, Rowdy Flat.
Yeah. So one of the sections we did early was
yes.
Yakandanda to Osmond's Flat.
Oh,
so that's completed.
Good.
And then linking it up through Yakandanda is another piece of work that is currently funded. We're working through too.
So that Yakandanda to Osmond's Flat is the old Rowdy track, is it? The Rowdy Flats track, is it?
Yeah, in part, and then I think it followed an existing track. But
because I've been on that. Yeah.
A new track had to be cut in for the second half of that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to the motion? I think Councillor Horn. You're not on mute. You can just go.
I'm all right. Okay, that's good. Look, as I've expressed before, I'm deeply concerned about this in light of the dreadful year that we've had and the uncertainty of all the blowouts that we've had with other projects. And I have a sincere wish that we defer this last granting of this last tender to later in the year, till we have more of an idea about what's going on. We don't know. I mean, there could be a horrible fire through that whole area, etc. And I'm concerned about the acquisition of land. I'm not really confident of the costings. There's a piece of the land that goes across over a tunnel, and the cost of acquiring access to those routes, has that all been sorted out?
Director Ella, do you want to, or CEO, either of you want to respond to Councillor's concerns?
Oh, look, I think the concerns you've raised in relation to what we're calling Section 5, so that the part that's the subject of this tender has all been sorted out and resolved. I think some of your concerns would, sit outside the recommendation in front of you.
Yes, it's probably more of the overall plan that I'm concerned about. But yes, I am deeply concerned about it.
Okay, so all right. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion before I hand? Yeah, Councillor Price.
I don't understand any of those concerns, to be honest. And this is December in the year, so in terms of deferring it to later in the year, this is it. I think that we're in a good position now to be able to see some sections of the rail trail completed, and to have a good understanding of what the costings will be, what approvals are required, exactly what planning needs to be undertaken to complete certain sections, and I'm confident that we have all of that in hand for Section 5. Again, for this section, it doesn't mean that we don't all share concerns about overspend of this project. We do, but there's certainly no reason to defer it. So I look forward to seeing another section complete.
Thanks, Councillor. Okay, so I think everyone's spoken to this. Oh, Councillor Gaffney, you asked a question. Do you wish to speak to the motion? Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to the mover, Councillor Goldsworthy.
Goldsworthy.
Councillor Goldsworthy.
Yes. Look, the concerns that have been raised by some are unfounded. We have an experienced project manager. They're comfortable with the contract that's been let with their experienced contractors who have delivered previously for us. We're funded for this this expense. We've got more than $12 million in the bank. As I previously stated, the state and federal government want us out there doing these projects to keep the economy going. And the greatest benefit is when this project is complete, this 31 kilometres of rail trail, it will deliver for the local economy. Not only will it deliver for Yackandandah, Osborne's Flat and Beechworth, it will deliver for the broader area as well. We're recognised by a regional strategy. They want this to go ahead. We want this to go ahead. There's no reason to defer it, and we should support this motion.
Okay, thank you. So
just a question before we vote. Did Councillor Goldsworthy say we've got $12 million available in the budget?
I think you said $12 million.
I thought most of it was earmarked.
Councillor
I'm not sure what he meant by that. Okay. Is it about this tender?
Do you want to clarify, Councillor Goldsworthy?
I said $12 million in the bank.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, most of it's spent.
Thanks, Councillor Gaffney. I'm going to put this motion for a vote. All those in favour of awarding this contract to continue the next stage of the rail trail. And I have 6 hands up. So Councillor Shepherd, Croucher, Price, Gaffney and Goldsworthy. Against? Councillor Horn. Okay, so it's carried. Thanks, councillors. 12.3 is the Municipal Emergency Management Planning Committee. So the recommendation is that Council authorises the disestablishment of the existing MEMP committee that was established under Section 21 of the Emergency Management Act 1986 in recognition that on the 1st of December 2020, these provisions were repealed and replaced by a new Section 59 in the Emergency Management Act. Authorises the CEO to facilitate the establishment of the new MEMP committee in accordance with the provisions of Section 59 of the Emergency Management Act, and notes that under the new provisions of the Emergency Management Act, Council's role is only to establish the committee, and once established, the committee exists separately to Council and is not a committee of Council. Do I have someone to move this? No. Councillor Goldsworthy, thank you. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Price, thank you. Councillor Goldsworthy.
Not a lot of love for this report. Yeah, I think we'll just go with the recommendation. I'm not sure whether it's a forward move or not. It basically removes council laws from their involvement and council from getting some feedback around what's happening with the emergency management sphere. So we'll see how it pans out. It's a state government requirement. Not much we can do about it.
Thanks, Councillor. Councillor Price.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. We're just fulfilling a requirement here, but there is no less interest from councillors and no less discussion about having an active role in this space. And yeah, us being removed from this committee won't stop that. So, but as Councillor Goldsworthy said, this is a state requirement, so we will approve it.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to the motion? Councillor Shepherd.
It's a state requirement, but I think it's backwards that there's no councillor involved in that committee, and also the fact that council now is not the lead of that committee. It now is run by the whole committee, which I always have concerns about who is ultimately responsible in a all groups committee. Like who is the person that will bear the brunt of any issues or concerns. Now, I know people can argue against that, but it is always a concern of mine is when there's not one lead agency who's going to take responsibility for the actions and for the plan to be enacted. I'm always concerned about that. And the fact, as has been raised, we now have no the community and councillors don't have any input into that plan. So, yeah, into the management of that plan. So I find that concerning, but as has been said, we have to, it's a state requirement.
Okay, thanks, Councillor Shepherd. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? That's unanimous. Thanks, councillors. And I think it is just really important to note that it doesn't lessen our awareness of the concerns that people have in our community about the fire risk for our towns. And this is, while this committee may function in its own, under its own terms of reference, we will continue to advocate around the issues that our communities raise with us. Item 13.1 is the draft community engagement policy. The recommendation is that council endorse the draft community engagement policy 2021 and places it on public exhibition and invites public feedback until the 1st of February 2021. Do I have someone to move that?
Can I just ask a question of that? Is the 1st of February long enough for, I know it's a bit of a weird question, to engage with the community about community engagement? Do you think people will be able to be reading this over the Christmas period?
So Director Kate Biglin, perhaps, would you like to respond to that one? Oh, sorry, the CEO's keen.
Sorry, it's not one of Kate's.
CEO.
It's not one of Kate's.
Oh, it's not.
No, longer the better. Longer the better. There is a statutory requirement to have this adopted by the 1st of March, which would mean we need to adopt it by the 23rd, our next council meeting, which is the 23rd of February. So we tried to find the right balance between the new council coming in and you considering this at your first opportunity, which is today, and then allowing as long as we can to get community feedback, but then still allowing time at the end of that feedback to then absorb what people have told us. So if we push the period out too long, then we don't pay respect then to what people have said to us and give an opportunity for us to adjust the draft for your consideration by the 23rd of February. So it gives about 5 to 6 weeks, albeit Christmas is in between, but there is a 5 to 6 week period from now until the end of February, then a time to consider everyone's submissions and then make those changes after that feedback. Unfortunately, we are snookered by the statutory requirement to adopt it by 1st of March, but that doesn't mean we can't change this at any time. So it's a minimum requirement to have it done by 1st of March, and then we have one. But we can always change it. So if you want to change that on the 2nd of March and call a council meeting, you can do that as well down the track.
Okay, thank you. So it sounds like we would like to have it out for longer, but to get it back in time, get the feedback and get it to council by the 23rd, that's about it. All right, that's a question from Councillor Shepherd. Do I have anyone to move the motion? Councillor Cratcher, and do I have a seconder? Councillor Price. Okay, go Councillor Cratcher.
Well, in my opinion, community engagement is the most important and possibly the most difficult thing to do or get happening in a community. And I know we've tried for years and years to try and get more and more people involved. I think the addition of the weekly update, I think that is really good. I know a lot of people that read that, and that is one piece of information that is really, really getting around. I'm just a little bit worried about a draft, the actual policy document sitting in a shop and just sitting there. I've seen that happen so many times and there's nobody to make much comment about it. From my point of view, if we do put this out, I will certainly take that document. I'll take it to my Lions Club and CWA and try and get as much feedback as possible, because I really do feel community engagement is just so important, but I don't really know whether we do it that well.
Fair comment, Councillor. Councillor Price.
It's certainly been a topic of discussion for us over the last 4 years, strengthening our communications, strengthening our engagement. Our last round of council plan consultation, we went to more towns and held more forums and things like that. So But I think we can all agree that any attempt to improve what we do is just a greater result. And certainly as councillors, as we've been having our induction and being briefed on all the projects that we're going to have to see through over the next 4 years, I've certainly made the comment that we will measure the success of those projects by how well we've engaged the community during the process of delivering them. And so this is the beginning point, is a community engagement policy. So I welcome any feedback, and as we've said, recognise that it is over the Christmas period. But again, we're meeting a requirement of the new Act.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Shepherd.
I do know that while we were all in election period, there was some community engagement around this, and 85 respondents gave their views on how they felt community engagement was received for them anyway, from council perspective. And one of the things that interested me was that almost 74% of respondents would prefer to participate face-to-face at a scheduled time, e.g. workshop, community forum, presentation to council, public meeting. So that's a big endorsement for face-to-face meetings. So I'm really interested in, was that just a certain cohort of people that got onto that engagement process while during that October period? Or is that what everyone else thinks too? Is that what everyone would prefer? I'd really like to hear back from the community around how they would like to be addressed. And if 74% of respondents prefer to participate face-to-face, it really does change a lot of how we will address our engagements. And the other thing I find interesting is just how engaged our community is and how much they expect to be communicated with, and to receive their feedback and to act on their feedback. So, it's great to have an engaged community. So I'm really looking forward to hearing in that short period of time, which I'm sorry about, their feedback to this deliberative community engagement.
Okay, anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Horn and then Councillor Gaffney.
Am I on?
Yes, you are.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm just going to turn the light on. The light's gone out in my room. Keep going, Councillor.
Righto. No, I think this is really an area in which we can do much, much better. There's a great deal of cynicism in the community. There's a lot of feeling that people are not listened to, given the opportunities to speak. But also I'm very concerned about how people get to know about these sorts of things. Something as simple as running off some hard copies and leaving them in the local post offices and news agencies and things like that, I think would help as well, because there's lots of people in our communities that don't have the internet, and the availability of that information is very important, that they actually get to see what's going on.
Yep, thanks, Councillor. And Councillor Gaffney.
Figures quoted by Councillor Shepherd are very true, and the community really appreciate community forums, which are face-to-face, and because of COVID, they have really missed them, particularly those the furthest away from Beechworth really missed them, and they're certainly looking forward to them, and I am too.
Okay, thank you, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Okay, back to you, Councillor Croucher, to sum up.
I've got nothing more to say. I think I've spoken what I thought about it. I just think community engagement is so important, and I'm looking forward to this document coming out, particularly around our areas. And I'll take it to Yakandand, I'll take it anywhere and ask for people's opinions on it. I think it would be great.
Great, thanks, Councillor. Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? That's a unanimous one, thanks. Okay, Council, item 13.2 is the Council Action Plan, and the recommendation is that Council notes Q1 2020-21 of the Council Plan Progress Report. Do I have someone to move that? again, just to clarify, this is just to note the report. Councillor Goldsworthy. And then seconded, Councillor Horn, you want to second that? Thanks. Councillor Goldsworthy.
I'm just wondering if it's possible before I begin to get an explanation for those 5 items that are on hold.
Who are you asking? CEO?
Sorry, I haven't got them in front of me just at the moment with what I've got here, but there's a couple that were put on hold, my recollection, mainly due to COVID, and where there was the need for community consultation as various part of the progress, and we felt that that consultation was best done face to face. A couple of those were put on hold until that was more freely available. Now I can't recall now which items they were, and I need to go to some screens to pull up what they were. That sort of covers most of them. I'm not sure whether any other directors can recall just offhand if there's any other examples.
That's all right, I'll give you a pass on that.
Okay.
That's the explanation that's in the matrix, just whether there's anything further on them. There's just the one item that's behind schedule, and the other 5 that were on hold, but anyway. Look, obviously this report is around the council plan and how we've been sticking to it and achieving the results. By and large, we're on track, and hopefully we'll see by the end of the term of this plan that all items are completed.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. Councillor Horn.
Yeah, it's just a rubber stamp job, really, isn't it?
Okay, thanks. And anyone else wish to speak to the report? Councillor Shepherd.
There's just 2 things, and I know it's nitpicking of me, but 1.3.2 is facilitate more opportunity for youth voice to be heard, and it's completed, and it's great to know that we have got a youth voice on the Cultural and Heritage Committee, so that particular aspect is completed, but I think it still should be ongoing that we are seeking youth voice in council. That one action perhaps doesn't cover that, so it is me nitpicking, but I still think it's good to bring it up. And then 3.1.5 is support ways to boost our economy through artistic and creative endeavours, and it's got an interesting explanation which I don't quite understand. I'm not sure whether we could have an explanation or but that probably needs explaining too.
Okay, so Kate Biglin, Acting Director Kate Biglin.
Sure. So the Stonehall Beechworth is a project to identify funding options for a co-working hub for creative industries. So that's one of the actions that the economic development team are looking in that area of activating more the artistic economy. And that will have potential to become a skills collective. And then the other part of that talks about visiting Albury City Council, and that refers to an information sharing opportunity between our economic development teams, looking at Albury City's co-location project for their artists, where they've got free space for artists to come together, create an exhibit, and that's been put on hold because of COVID. So we're hoping that will reconnect quite soon.
Great. Well, I'm glad I was pernickety then, because I learned some interesting things, and often those little sort of obtuse comments, I think, what does that mean? But thank you. That's a great explanation.
Great. Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Goldsworthy, do you want to sum up?
I do not.
Okay, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour?
It's for information only, isn't it, Madam Mayor?
No, it's that we note the report. It's a recommendation that we note the report. You have to vote on it, Councillor.
Well, it just says for information, but that's all right. Yep.
No, it is a recommendation. Well, I'm going to put it to vote
Just
on it.
Just above it, it says for information.
Yeah, I see that. You're right, but
okay.
I'm going to put it as a motion. So vote. All those in favour? And we've got a unanimous vote. Thank you. Swearing in of councillors Jane, just to be clear, can I just check in there, Jane? That was a good point that Councillor Gaffney raised. It does say for information, but they're actually recommendations that appear to be there for a vote. So the next one's the same. Swearing in of councillors. So it's to be voted on. I take it.
It's not for decision.
Yeah, it says for information, not for decision.
That's some of the vagaries of Info Council, also some of the vagaries of me going from former templates in my new role. It's always your prerogative at any point during the agenda to put a motion and to vote on it, no matter what the agenda says.
Sure. But it's something we might clarify. Usually it says for decision if it needs to go to a vote. And, you know, I'm assuming that that's why they're here. So I'm going to run with that. So the swearing in of councillors, the recommendation is that the report be noted. And as I earlier on in the meeting, I introduced the 7 councillors to our community. And so obviously we had to be sworn in officially. We've done that. We've taken an oath of office. And the recommendation really is just to make sure that that is noted. And I've got Councillor Cratcher moving that. Do I have a seconder? Yep.
Maybe if we could have noted and received. Would that help?
Okay. Noted and received. How's that? All right. Are you happy with
So we've
that?
changed it now.
I'm happy.
Are you happy with that? We're clarifying it, Councillor Gaffney.
I'm happy with that.
Are you happy to add that?
I'm very happy with that.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is that the report be noted and received. Councillor Croucher moves that. Councillor Goldsworthy seconds that. Do I have Councillor Croucher, do you wish to speak to that?
Oh, I'll only just say that I've been through this sort of a situation in my previous time as a councillor, and this one was a little tiny bit different with the COVID, and it was sort of disappointing that I couldn't have had my family and people along with me, but otherwise it was a very grand occasion, let's put it that way.
Thanks, Councillor Croucher. Councillor Goldsworthy, do you wish to say anything as seconder?
No, not particularly. Just note the results.
All right. Anyone else wish to speak to the report? Anyone else wish to speak to the report? Oh, Councillor Price does, yes.
I was quite happy not to have my 2 noisy children in the background, so I'm more than happy to continue with COVID requirements.
Okay, so I'll put the motion. All those in favour. Councillor Gaffney, are you going to put your hand up? Or are you going to prefer not to note that we were sworn in? Thank you, unanimously. All right, 13.4 is the cancellation of the meeting for the CEO at the CEO's report. And the recommendation is that the report be noted and that the council meeting scheduled for the 30th of November 21 was cancelled and the statutory meeting for 2021 be scheduled for that date. Obviously, that's already happened. So this is about the report on that occurrence. Can I have someone to move that? Councillor Gaffney, do I have a seconder? Councillor Horn. Councillor Gaffney.
The meeting was cancelled and was replaced with the statutory meeting.
Okay, and we need to officially, and I gather there has to be an official notification for that. Is that correct, Jane?
So the meeting that was cancelled that we're reporting on was the 2020 meeting, November meeting.
Yeah.
And was replaced with a statutory meeting on the 24th.
Oh, it says 2021. Sorry, you're right.
Yeah, so this is for 2021.
21, yes.
But can I actually make the comment here that there has been some issue with the generation of the agenda? There was actually the report that was presented to the councillors earlier was that that 30 November meeting actually be retained as a scheduled meeting and that we have an additional meeting for the statutory meeting. But that hasn't made it into the agenda this week. Councillors may wish to change or put an alternate recommendation that rather than cancelling the 30 November meeting, that the council simply schedule the statutory meeting for the 23rd of November in 2021.
Oh, okay. Okay, so I'm a bit confused too, but basically we're actually talking about the meeting for the coming November that I'm going to go back to you, CEO, just to be clear about what we're actually what we need to put to the meeting.
Sorry, we're trying hard to confuse you here.
You are.
The item does two things, Madam Mayor. There is a requirement under the governance rules that if I do cancel a meeting, which we supplanted with a statutory meeting, that at the next available normal meeting of council, I'll provide you a report as to why that happened. So this report notes that. So the first dot point is to note that that why we just swapped a normal meeting for a statutory meeting. The second dot point then was to schedule a statutory meeting for next year. But it seems that we've had a glitch here, and what we meant to do was to still keep the 30th of November 2021, but to also schedule an additional meeting on the week before for the purpose of statutory meetings. So if we can change that recommendation to say that the report be noted, number one, and second of all, that the statutory meeting for 2021 be set for the 23rd of November.
Okay, that's clearer. So, Councillor Gaffney, are you happy to accept that move?
I'm happy to move that. Point one is that the report be noted. Point two is that the statutory meeting for 2021 will be held on the 23rd of November, and there will be an ordinary council meeting on the 30th of November.
Very good, except we don't call them ordinary anymore. Can't remember.
I know.
Just count, but yes,
No,
I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Great.
What do we call them then?
They're called,
Just a
what are they
meeting.
called, Jane? Just the council meeting. They're not called ordinary or special anymore, are they?
Just council meetings.
Just council meetings.
A meeting.
Okay, so the council meeting will be still held on the 30th. Statutory meeting will be on the 23rd. Councillor Gaffney's moved that. Councillor Horn, are you happy to still second that?
Yes, I am.
Thank you. Councillor Gaffney, do you need to speak to this motion?
I'm looking forward to both of those meetings.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else? Councillor Horn, do you wish to add any comment as a seconder?
I am too.
Yeah, me too. Anyone else want to speak to the motion? All right, I'm going to put the motion. All those in favour? Unanimous. Thanks, councillors. Thanks for clarifying that, Trevor and Jane. 13.5, the advisory committee minutes. The recommendation is that council receives the attached unconfirmed advisory committee minutes and endorses the officer comments. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Price, seconder. Thanks, Councillor Shepherd. Councillor Price, you wish to speak to it?
Yeah, just to note that the audit committee noted in the chair's report the retirement from the committee of Kate Thompson and Rob Anderson, and thank them for their contribution over the last 6 years. That's a huge turnover of knowledge and skill in that committee, and their input will certainly be missed. But they've also been replaced by some very capable people as well. So just noting that. Thanks, Madam Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, I also I attended the Environment Advisory Committee. Even though I'm not the councillor, I feel as though I'm fully engaged in that committee, and so I'm just going to sneak along to them and look at them. But one exciting thing that happened there was the Indigo Shire Youth for Climate Action gave a presentation for half an hour on their engagement with our policy on, our strategy on the Climate Action Plan, and they're looking at doing a youth involvement in decision making and a youth summit on climate action that they're planning for 2021, and they're looking for support from the IEAC. So I think that'll be amazing if that we'll be able to support them in getting a youth climate summit happening in our shire. So yeah, so more in that space to come.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? Councillor Goldsworthy.
So there's a couple of meetings I attended in there. The Indigo Shire Community Grants and Awards Advisory Committee, I stepped in there at the last minute. just want to acknowledge the good work that the people who are on that committee do. They come well prepared to discuss the different potential award recipients. They read the documentation. They just do everything that you hope a committee will do. And yeah, I'd just like to give a shout out to them to say, job well done. We're probably not getting as many nominations as what the committee would prefer, and so that will definitely be something that they're looking to do. They're hoping to get together early next year to try and work out a way how they can promote that a little bit better. I get that Australia Day may be on the nose for some people, but we certainly have a lot of worthy recipients within the Shire that should be acknowledged, whether it's Australia Day or some other day. The other one is the Indigo Shire Cultural Heritage Advisory Committee. It was the inaugural meeting that we had there on the 3rd of December. Well, once again, I've said it before, they're amazingly well qualified committee. I did actually learn a fair bit for them just in that brief interaction we had. There's been a bit of criticism over the journey around local representation. Two of those committee members, apart from the council representatives on it, being Mayor O'Connor and myself, are both living in Beechworth. And they have the broader aspect around what's in the Shire. And the majority of those on there had been to the Indigo Shire previously, some for a number of journeys. And I think over time, we'll see that committee really give some great advice to council. And once again, I think we need to be well organised and give them the right questions to give us the advice on, but they're a well-qualified committee that we should be utilising.
Yep, thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Yes, Councillor Gaffney.
With Councillor Price, I attended the Audit and Risk Committee, which went for several hours, and we didn't get through the agenda, which was unfortunate, but we had the internal auditor from Bendigo was there and presented reports on procurement. It's just good to see that independent people look so closely at the processes and risks in Indigo Shire Council. Of course, the CEO was there and the Director of Finance was there, and they were both asked a lot of questions, and I'm sure that this committee will be very successful going forward.
Thanks, Councillor. Anyone else wish to speak to this? Councillor Price, do you wish to sum up?
Just to comment on some minutes that weren't ready, Councillor Croucher and myself attended the Access Committee meeting yesterday. They haven't met since May, and the last time we did meet was all over teleconference, so it's quite an odd meeting. It meant that there was a large number of items on the agenda, namely our Municipal Emergency Management staff member, Chris Rule, the coordinator. He came along to receive our feedback on how people with disability or additional needs are catered for in times of emergency. We also had Kylie Mason come along, she's the Albury Wodonga Health Disability Liaison Officer. She reached out to our committee to come along and discuss her newly appointed role for helping people access health within the community during COVID-19 and with all of those things in place. I really look forward to that committee doing some more really good work. I think they now have really solidified their place in our processes, whereby we can go to them when we need some specialist advice on making sure that most access requirements have been catered for in all of our infrastructure projects. So I look forward to their good work.
Okay, thanks, Councillor. So I'm going to put the motion that the council receives the attached minutes from the advisory committees and endorses the comments. All those in favour? Okay, that's unanimous. Thanks, councillors. And yes, thank you to the work of all of the people involved in our advisory committees who provide such a huge amount of support to council. And I often think if we had to actually pay people for their time and the level of expertise they provide, there would be a very hefty cost to council. So we're very lucky to have the level of support and expertise that we do get on our advisory committees. Item 13.6 is the recommendation to accept the attached Assembly of Councillor records. Anyone to move that one? I've got Councillor Shepherd and seconded by Councillor Price. Do you wish to speak to this, Councillor Shepherd? No. Councillor Price? Anyone else wish to speak to this motion? I'll put the motion. All those in favour? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, unanimous, carried. Thank you. There are no notices of motion for this meeting. Item 13 is the councillors' reports. Do any councillors want to take this opportunity? We have just obviously had an opportunity to talk about the committees. Any other reports from councillors at this stage? Councillor Gaffney.
I'd just like to report that last Thursday, the 10th of December, I attended a community meeting called by the Beechworth Rural CFA Captain Bruce Forrest. Over 150 people attended. A lot of concern was regarding if fire began in the gorge at Beechworth and the ability of the local brigade in attending. The local federal member, Helen Haynes, sent a letter of support, and Tanya Maxwell sent one of her advisors to the meeting. Council is aware of the concerns of the local brigade. The gorge is dwelt land. However, the first responder will be the CFA. They need and deserve the appropriate vehicles and equipment to fight fire. I'll probably have a further report at the next meeting of council, Madam Mayor.
Okay, thanks for that, Councillor Gaffney. And yes, as I said earlier, the concerns around fire, of course, are right across the Shire, and you know, something that we are very, very aware of. And thanks for that report, Councillor. Any other councillors wish to take the opportunity to report at this stage?
At what point will we be having general business? What item is that?
Item 15. It's after decisions registered. Don't worry, I haven't forgotten. I've even actually got it highlighted. So we'll get there. Any other reports at this stage? Okay, thanks, councillors. The Mayor's Diary for September is in the agenda for anyone that wants to see what I was doing in September, which feels a bit like a lifetime ago, but it's there. It's there, and you're welcome to ask me questions about it. So item 16 is the decisions register, and that's there for information. It's a way of people keeping track of decisions that we have made and where they're up to. So it's kind of a useful tool for anyone in the community, really, to just keep an eye on what we said we would do, and that how, you know, the decisions that we make at this council. Item 15 is general business for, particularly at this stage, I'm going to hand to Councillor Goldsworthy because he's keen to get there.
I found it. It's item 17 in the general business.
It's not item 15. You're right, but it says 15 here. So.
All right. Look, I do have a few queries and requests for action and response. Just with there's been a bit of commentary around the replica slab hut in the bottom of Camp Street, Skidmore Street. It was built in the 1970s. I'm just wondering, is that a council building? And if it is, what's the intention with that? I had a look at it today and it's looking very derelict.
Yeah, okay. Director Ellett, do you want to respond to that? Or sorry, CEO has got his hand up.
So my understanding, I'm learning about this hut at the moment. So my understanding is that it is on Crown land, but council is the committee of management. So we don't technically own it, but we manage that site. I understand it is a replica, as you've mentioned. And there has been a bit of discussion lately about the future of that, or speculation about that. I'll need to get some more information on it, councillor, what the state of it is in, what it would cost to repair it, and get some more information back to you in due course as to what that might cost and what we might do with it.
Yeah, more for the options potentially. Repair might be very costly.
Yeah, I've got no. Yeah,
But if you could come back to council, that'd be terrific.
yeah.
While I was there, I had a look at the Powder magazine. It was closed up. It used to have a sound and light show. Is that still operating? And if not, what's the state of play with the inside of that building?
I might throw that to Kate, who does have an update about the light and sound show.
Well, thank you. The Sound and Light Show, I understand, stopped working this year, and we received quite a generous donation from the Hawking family in honour of Ern Hawking to undertake some repairs. The Sound and Light Show equipment isn't repairable, but we have repaired the interior lighting and electricals, and we've transferred the audio experience onto an online experience that visitors can access on their phones. So I believe it's going to reopen soon, and we're just putting the finishing touches together. Once it opens, visitors can get the swipe card from the Visitor Information Centre, which was the practice previously, and access it as they have previously. And they'll also be given the link to that online material, so they'll have the audio with them on their phones.
Very good, thank you.
That's good.
Another query, and this is whilst I was out there doing a bit of electioneering earlier in the piece, the condition of the Upriver Road and Guramatta Road in relation to heavy vehicle use. It's about 19 kilometres of Shire Road, and it's primarily used as a detour for those off the Riverina Highway. If you, because of how it's been upgraded and built, it's actually quicker for somebody leaving, or a truck driver leaving from Corowa, if they wanted to get to the Hume Freeway and the Riverina Highway in Albury. It's 8 minutes quicker and about the same distance though. So I'm just wondering, are we putting greater expense on the ratepayers of Indigo Shire by maintaining that road, and particularly that speed limit? I'm just wondering the condition of that road. Is it deteriorating because of the amount of trucks going across it?
Director Ellett.
Thanks, Councillor. Look, I don't have any information in front of me about the current condition. It was opened up to heavy vehicles a number of years ago, so probably around 7 years ago. There was some funding that we put into it in the years. I think council put 24,000. We got a $50,000 grant from Vic Road, so I think we spent 74,000 there on some safety improvements. So they were informed by a road safety audit that was done around the same time. Since then, there has been some money spent on realigning the intersection between Guramatta and Upriver to give that route priority. And council's also spent some money supported by a state government grant under the Roads to Markets program for an upgrade of the bridge on Guramatta Road to bring that up to a heavy vehicle standard. So look, I guess that's in terms of works. That route is a link road in our register of roads. So under our road management plan, we do inspections there 3 times a year. So proactive inspections to look for any hazards and safety issues. So I'm not aware that they've brought about any higher maintenance or anything. But what we do have scheduled this year is about every 4 years or so, we go out and we do a condition audit of our road network, which actually looks at the seals, the pavements, and works out how they're deteriorating in their life cycle. So look, I guess that's a piece of data that will come to us, across the months ahead, that might give us some clues as to whether that road is deteriorating at any quicker speed than otherwise might, but yeah, not aware of anything at the moment.
Okay. Certainly it was reported to me that it was deteriorating on the edges of it. I'd be interested in that report when it does get done. I'm sure the local community would be as well, one way or the other, to say, look, the road's not being broken up, or it is. But certainly, given it's 19 kilometres of Shire Road that's used by heavy vehicles, we're basically subsidising the New South Wales government and the Riverina Highway. My next question is the Silver Creek Walk. It runs between the Lake Samble and Lake Kerford. There's a section that's closed between the Silver Creek Caravan Park and G Road. It's a couple of 100 metres. It's got a notice up there to say it's closed due to mine shafts in the area. It's always been that way. There's been no change to it that's perceptible within the last probably 10 or 15 years that I'm aware of. I'm just wondering whether we can contact Parks and find out the status quo and see what it will take to get that track open, or are they just waiting for council to build the epic bike track past there? Once again, the commentary on the local Facebook page has been quite significant. A lot of people concerned about it, and it is listed in our tracks and trails as a very popular walk. The upkeep, I'll add in there, the upkeep of that road, that track's been atrocious, and there's blackberries going ballistic across there. You'd be lucky to walk on there. I don't know what their maintenance budget is, but it appears to be not spent in that area.
So are you asking for a report back on that one, Councillor?
It would be terrific if we could get a report back to council.
All right, so make a note of that, CEO. Great, thanks.
The next one is the industrial, the potential industrial land down in Anderson Street, Chiltern. At the council depot, there's a block of land between it and the Beechworth Chiltern Road. There's 15 acres of land for sale. I'm just wondering if council's made contact with the owner and where those discussions might be at. If they're confidential, then I'm happy to hold that over to the confidential sitting.
CEO?
The answer is yes to all of those. So we have made contact with the owner. Do you have some information on that? Perhaps probably not appropriate to talk about the contents of that private discussion that was had with that owner in public session, but happy to have a private discussion with councillors about that.
That would be terrific. I'd like to know where we're at with that. The next question's around the service reviews. It was mentioned in the CEO's report at to the audit committee that's just gone, that Councillor Gaffney spoke about. I'm just wondering, it spoke about service reviews being done for the Office of CEO, which I know we've already been given a copy of, economic development, recreation and aquatic, waste management and Buller Gas. Just would like to receive a copy of those service reviews.
So yes, so you've certainly seen the CEO, Office of CEO, which combined exec management, governance and risk management into one review, and you have seen that at a councillor briefing. We also brought to a councillor briefing the waste management review and the Buller Gas, so we can certainly reissue those again. We have completed reviews of Eco Dev and Recreation. They've come to the exec team, and that's now been finalised, but we haven't come back to a council briefing to share those with you yet, but we certainly will do that, and we'll expedite that. So they're ready to go. We've got a range of new ones that are scheduled for 2021, and a number of those have just started, but the rest haven't yet started, but we certainly have plans to get those done by 2021 as well.
Yep, I'd appreciate being appraised of when they're occurring and given a copy when they're completed. That would be great.
Absolutely, that's the plan.
Yep, the asset management plans in the update for the council plan, I think listed in there that at least one of the asset management plans, if not a couple, have been completed. I'd be interested in getting a copy of those so we could read them over our long Christmas break.
Okay, can we get
Ian on that one, please?
Yeah, look, if I can just respond. So certainly one of them was completed in draft form, has been through our exec. There was a couple of changes, so I think that will come back again. That was the bridges. The buildings one is not far behind it, but it hasn't yet surfaced in through exec. So that should happen in the early part of next year, and that certainly would be the intent following that to get those out to councillors and bring them to, I guess, a council meeting, but probably to a briefing on the way through.
Okay. And the last one I have is just on dark skies. I'm just wondering, I'm happy to take advice from the environmental committee members, but it would be good to get something back from the environment advisory committee around dark skies and whether we should be looking to implement a strategy or policy not dissimilar to that that's occurred in some of the New South Wales towns. Anyone got any thoughts around that?
Yeah, I agree. Totally agree with that.
Yep.
Councillor Shepherd.
The IEC has endorsed the dark skies, and I think it's really a matter now of the councillors bringing it, a report being brought to council that we then vote on. I think there was also an issue, I think it was difficult, it's very much a planning issue, and I think for a while it was perhaps difficult, as we're very aware, planning was very much under the pump really in the last year. So there might be an opportunity, I think, to bring it with the new planning manager and a discussion around it. And I think it should be absolutely an action in the new council plan. So if it comes from us and it also comes from the community, which I know there's a lot of community support for it, I think then, as you're aware, we then fund it, we do get a strategy on it. I think that's the space we're ready for now. But yeah, I'm assuming we haven't yet really discussed it around the councillors to see how well it's endorsed, but we can't do that until we get a report, I think.
So how do we get the report or the advice from the Environmental Committee? Have they done something that is tangible that could be presented to us?
Councillor, it was actually an item on the last committee, but the person who's involved, Peter Kenyon, wasn't at that committee meeting. He has told me that he's planning to meet with our new planning manager. So there's works going on in the background that we just haven't been updated on yet. And so in the new year, once the environment advice, so they couldn't deal with that issue at the last meeting, but it's on the agenda there. Once they make a recommendation, it'll come to council. But there is discussion and work going on behind the scenes.
Excellent, excellent.
So could I ask the CEO, are you comfortable that something will come to council in relation to dark skies out of the Environment Committee? Or do you think that we've got enough information to make that happen?
Perhaps early days to really answer. They'll probably need to see what comes out of the committee, what the recommendation is, what the work is that's called out of that, and whether it does become more of a council plan action item. I'm not sure. I'm certainly aware of the issue. I'm certainly aware of the movement and the concept. But look, happy to see what comes out of the Environment Committee and see what we do with that work. I don't have any real strong view on it either way, just at this stage.
Yeah, I wonder the mechanism of getting it out of that committee. That's all.
Oh, I think that's what I'm saying. Sorry, Councillor, that it's agendaed to be dealt with at that committee. It just wasn't done because the person who's been doing the work wasn't at the meeting. So it is on their agenda, and then the normal process would be that they make a recommendation to council. They just haven't been able to do that yet. So, but my understanding is there's been a lot of work done, and that's ongoing work in the background till it comes up at the next meeting. The councillors on that committee are aware that council wants information on this. So I mean, we'll make sure that there's some kind of link between that work and getting it to us around the table for council. And rightly, as it's been alluded to, if it's in the council plan, then we can refer it to them as well. So yeah.
Thank you for that. That's me done for general business. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Anyone else who's general business? Councillor Croucher.
Here we go again. I'd just like an update on Nickmar. I know the land has been cleared and it's all tidied up and so forth, but there was an issue with the lady next door, and I went for a walk with her, and it was beside the river. There was quite a lot of foliage and trees and stuff that's been slashed, and she was wanting some sort of just some sort of an update on where we are with the Nickmar maybe would be good, so I can tell the community, a lot of the community people.
So this is the Neckmar site in Kiwi.
In Kiwi, yeah.
Director Pinkerton. No, it's not baby anymore, is it?
No, Greg's moved on from Greg. So Greg's done his bit and he's bought the land. Ian's done a little bit, and he's going to talk about that in a minute. But there was a phase there where we've bought the land, we have access to the site. We certainly want to get the community on there and to start talking about what they see as the future for that site and start to dream the dreams there. before we allowed that to happen, we need to do some sort of cleanup to make the site safe, and it was okay, but it just needed to be a little bit more work done to get it ready to have people on there. Obviously, with COVID and restrictions and so on, we weren't able to do that immediately, but certainly it's moving over to a phase now with Kate and her team to get in amongst the community and get their dreams and aspirations for the site. That's a piece of work ahead of us. But I will just, if I can throw it in a second, I'm aware of that people had seen works done, which is really just about cleaning the site up and making it safe as much as anything. But I might just ask Ian just to clarify that so we get that on record if we can. And then maybe Kate to have a quick chat about what's planned then for community consultation from here.
Yeah, look, thank you. I can't recall the exact nature of all of the works, but certainly under the guise of making it safe. So once the land sort of has come into our ownership, and clearly there's a future direction that the community will be able to utilise that for access. So to make it safe, there was an assessment done. I know sort of between staff across Kate's directorate and infrastructure. There was some dialogue. I know the work certainly included some removal of a pile of green debris, so trees and that near the rear fence. So that was all removed. I think there was one tree, a dead wattle that was standing, that was removed. So that was the only tree removal. And there was some other tree pruning works. I think there was a big limb overhanging a tank or something. And possibly a building structure that was unsafe. Kate, you might be able to verify that. But I think that's the nature of the works, and some pruning, removal of some debris, one tree, and possibly some minor building works. And I think that's all been completed.
I guess just when we went down to have a look at the bank, it was on the bank of the river itself. There was a lot of, as if trees had been slashed and cleared and so forth. And I wasn't, I don't know whether you've seen it or not, whether any of the people have been down to see it, because it did look a little bit bad. And the lady next door was not very happy at all. But anyway, that's fine.
Look, I haven't been on site, so I'm only,
Nah.
I guess, repeating the information that I was able to find out a couple of weeks ago.
Thanks, Ian. Thank you.
Kate, have you got anything to add?
Just that we do have a community engagement plan ready to roll out as soon as it is ready and safe to do so. So that'll be very early in the new year, and we'll do lots of promotion and have activities on site, as well as lots of other ways to interact with people who can't get there and talk about what the community wants it to become.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, Councillor. Any other general business? Councillor Shepherd.
Yes, I just wanted, many of you would be aware that Helen Kelly, an 83-year-old member of the Yakandanda community, was involved in an accident on the Yakandanda Bridge and was helicoptered down to Melbourne. And she's a stalwart of the Yakandanda community, well regarded, well loved. And I just, on our behalf, I just think I'd like to send wishes to her and her extended family on her speedy recovery, and I hope she's back on her bike very soon.
Yeah, thanks, Councillor. And, we are again aware that the very much loved bridge in Yakandanda, the Stone Bridge, that the trucks that use that bridge create a lot of concern in the community. We are aware of that, and we do raise these issues with rural regional roads, and it's going to be an ongoing concern, obviously, and that's a really dreadful event to have happened. So our best wishes to Helen and her family. Any other general business? Okay, so we're about to go into confidential to talk about two items. One is who the winners of the Indigo Shire community grants will be, and we like to keep that as a surprise. And the other is who the new community members of the tourism event grants are, and until we let them know, we don't make that a public thing. So that's what we'll be discussing in confidential. Usually we know that people don't hang around for that, because we then come back and shut the meeting. So I'm going to take the opportunity before we look at moving into confidential to send our best wishes to the community coming up for Christmas and into the new year. I think we can all say this has been a hell of a year. 2020 is a year none of us will forget. Our communities have really been impacted right from the beginning of this year with the fires, the smoke, the threat of fires, the ongoing smoke issue, the lack of tourism and visitation as a result of that, the health concerns, the fear that I think many of us experienced during that time as we got through a frightening summer. And then just as we thought, yay, we're through it, we're about to recover, COVID pandemic hit, and we've had the ongoing and still ongoing impacts of that ever since. So it's been a very difficult year for our communities. I want to pay tribute to you all for your resilience, for your determination, to our businesses that have been innovative and been willing to change and adapt literally week by week to the challenges that have come along. To the community spirit, there's been some amazing support out there for people who were struggling, and you know, really hope that the coming year is a much more positive one for all of us in Indigo Shire and in the broader community. I also want to thank our staff because they're also our community, and throughout this year, under all of those pressures which impacted on all of our staff personally as well, they have done an amazing job to keep our council services going in whatever form they could. And your commitment to the community is unquestioned. And I know that you're exhausted and you need a break, and we want you to have a really good break over the coming Christmas time. I think it's important to say to our communities that while we may be on a break, the work doesn't stop. We're your representatives, we're aware of what's going on. We want you to continue to keep us informed of anything you're concerned about. And our staff, while some are on leave, others are there taking over the reins. So it's very important to, I think, acknowledge the work of our council. And I say to my council colleagues, you know, thank you for those of us that were going through the year before this. Thank you for all of your work and support. And to our new council colleagues and this new council, I know that we are going to do everything we can to help our communities through this recovery time. So best wishes to everyone for a safe and happy Christmas and for a new year that hopefully is a much more positive one than the one we've been through. So I'm going to finish there, and I would like to ask one of the councillors whether they're prepared to move that we move into confidential to deal with the next two items. Do I have someone to move that? Councillor Price. Do I have a seconder? Councillor Gaffney. All those in favour? Okay, so Administrator, we're moving So we're back in the live stream. I assume that if anyone is watching, then they'll be very pleased to hear that this is the end of this meeting. And thank everyone for the meeting, for such a good meeting tonight. And best wishes to anyone who may still be watching us. So good night. We'll see you on the 23rd of February.